Sweet bass. Hey, it's the Tim Anderson Podcast. I'm Tim. That's my buddy Ryan over there. Ryno, good to see you.
Howdy.
And on the other side, a very busy man, guy who has been everywhere the last handful of days, been in meetings, everywhere, you name it. His name is Zach. Zach Nienaber, the coach. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Tim. How are you?
Oh, just living the dream. Living the dream. Always good to have you here on the podcast. Another day, another week. Sorry, first of all, full disclosure. Sorry we could not be here last week. We had just Ruthian struggles here in the tech department. We had a lot of changes go on at the podcast studio, and things got moved around, and then things just never got back together. So we've had to kind of rework, revamp, and we think that it's actually going to be better long term, but we had to go through the growing pains last week. So no podcast last week. Also, it was Halloween, and I don't have kids, but my two co-hosts do, and there was myriad trick-or-treating being done last week. You guys were very, very busy, so we just weren't able to get it done. We do apologize in advance, but we're back this week for double elimination and all kinds of good stuff on the pod this week. But we got to start with breaking news. At the top of the program, another week, and coach number 2 has been fired in the National Football League. Frank Reich, head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, out after getting dominated by the Patriots yesterday, 26-3, where the offense doesn't convert a third down, and they basically get, outgunned the entire way. Eliminated. Frank Reich, you're out. Replace, though, and this is the one where I've got to hit Zach's thoughts first today, is Jeff Saturday is the interim coach. That doesn't seem like a big deal. Jeff Saturday used to play for the Colts. He was an all-pro player, one of the great Colts of all time. And the Packers as well. He's a really great name in football. Here's the problem. Not on the Colts coaching staff. He is a consultant to the team and an ESPN analyst. They are throwing him right in the fire as the interim head coach. Zach, I think this is a very interesting move. What do you think of it?
I don't mind the move. I know it's a little different and out of left field, but here's the problem. The Colts have already fired their offensive coordinator this year. They've already been working through coaches. So this move keeps other coaches in their current roles, right? You keep the D coordinator as the D coordinator. You keep guys doing things that they're used to doing, because I think if you're trying to salvage the season, which they are, right? Because they're not completely out of it, right? At 3-5-1. They're trying to salvage something out of this. They're putting a guy in charge who they don't think is the long-term solution. They aren't pretending that, but what they're doing is they're allowing those other guys to stay in their roles. Because I think if you take the D coordinator and you make him the head coach, then what are we doing now? Now we have someone else that has to kind of step up in that role, and you're reshuffling the whole deck, and that causes a lot of problems.
Ryan, this is a very bizarre move. I think Zach makes a couple of really good points. I think there's some other points out there to be had, but your thoughts on the move? You're a Colts guy. This is your team. Your thoughts?
Well, I grew up watching Jeff Saturday. I had the opportunity
on a Sunday.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to meet him among others in that era when I lived down there. They kind of did like a community outreach thing at the school that I went to. He always seemed like a nice guy. He never really came across as a guy who was a major dick, but I also I don't really think that he's much of a pro coach. There's not a whole lot of experience there. And if you're going to step into a situation like that, I would think that you'd want some experience. So this to me feels like a Jim Irsay saying, I'm done with the whole thing and we've got to ride out this season and we want a decent draft pick here. But they've kind of put themselves behind the 8 ball a little bit as far as cap, and I'm pretty sure they traded a couple of draft picks this year too, so they're going to have to try and recoup those a little bit. The question that I have is, if you're going to make this move and you want to rebuild, why don't you fire him before the trade deadline and make some moves? It just doesn't seem to make much sense to me on the timing. I know you think that you can compete in this division, but you watch this team and that the Colts aren't a team that we're going to compete against Tennessee this year. That already lost once at least to Tennessee. They got beat to hell by Tennessee. It just wasn't. They didn't look like they were in the same level of competition this year. So I'm not really sure on the timing. It just feels like maybe a desperation move from ownership.
All right, a couple of things on that. I think I agree with you in that they're looking to ride out the year in terms of they don't think the future coach is on staff. They're going to clean house here.
Yeah.
And so that's part of it, right? There's nobody that they want to audition for this, and that's why Jeff Saturday is getting the job. I think the timing of it has a little more to do with some of the decisions that have been made. I don't think that Frank Reich necessarily wanted to go to the backup quarterback. I think he may have been told to go to the backup quarterback. I think some of that may have came to a head here now after this week, where he's like, what are we doing here? Like, we need to go back, and ownership didn't want to do that. And I think it may have gotten to the point where like, well, then you just need to bring someone else in, right? Like, fire me. And I think that's, a hard decision, right? Like, again, when an owner is meddling in some of these things, right? When Jerry Jones is the GM, should the owner be deciding the starting quarterback?
No,
probably not. I think there are some things there too, where, if I go, hey, like, I'm the owner, we just have invested all this money into, so-and-so, or we just drafted this guy, like, I want him on the field. Like, I get some of that, but that's not anything of what's going on here.
We should also note that Jim Irsay is a noted psychopath, an absolute dick. Just not a nice man. I know that I haven't met him personally, but my father has, and he was very rude to my father. So,
well, that's it then.
Yeah. Well, I think
rude to people who work for you.
Weren't you? I mean, less than a week ago, celebrating Jim Irsay because it kind of seemed like him coming out forced the hand of the Commanders to sell.
Look, blind squirrel can find a nut, and it was a good thing that he did that. But that doesn't make him not a good that doesn't make him a good person. Making one good.
What decision. It really does, it says Daniel Snyder's a really bad person.
That's true too.
When it's like, it reminds you of those episodes of the Dukes of Hazzard when Boss Hogg would team with the Dukes and they took down another guy. You knew that was a bad guy if they were teaming with Boss Hogg. You knew that was not a good situation.
Well,
that's what it felt like.
I think we do. We've talked about this a little bit, and the Colts are probably up for discussion tonight on the Eliminator as well. Based on a coaching change mid-season, based on what they've been doing, and the double eliminator, kind of plays into that. But who knows? I mean, they may stave off elimination here for another week.
What do you make, though, of some people who would say, and I want to return to the quarterback discussion in just seconds, Zach, because I think you make a good point, but what do you make? I mean, I'd heard Joy Taylor talk about this today, that like, hey, we constantly, like Reggie Wayne couldn't get a look. Why isn't a guy like, we're going to hire this guy with absolutely no experience whatsoever, like not even coaching credentials to speak of, to be a head coach. And we couldn't let Reggie Wayne just do that. Like, I realize the changing of positions, but like, this is an opportunity to send a message about, hey, actually give a coach on the staff, even if you're not going to hire him, let him have a chance in this position and learn something on the job, who actually thinks they might have a career in this, versus some dude who has no criteria whatsoever to be a head coach in this league. None whatsoever. And we would argue he's far less qualified than maybe some of these other coaches that don't get looked at every year. And I mean, certainly Joy Taylor, went down the road of racism, and I'm not saying that that's wrong or right. I'm just saying there does speak to be a, it does feel like, I don't know, some folks are held to a different standard than others. Like, they say experience is important, but then you go and hire this guy. And that piece doesn't work for me. I can't seem to square that circle. Ryan, I'll start with you.
Yeah. I think that that this comes down to just, again, not believing that the guy's on staff. And
so even if Reggie Wayne's on staff, you don't want him to even command a couple weeks and learn something or something like that?
It also might be that you don't want him to be tainted by this season. right? Like if he's on your list, you can't have him coach the last couple of weeks because you don't want the fans to question the move if he's one of your guys, right? If they come out and he coaches them and it's already kind of a shot operation and he loses the rest of the season, the fans are going to say, well, we can't hire that guy. Even if he does a good job in the building, you're not going to be able to sell that.
Even the players might question it too.
Right. So if he's a guy that you're considering, knowing how bad this operation is, you might be thinking, well, I'm going to save that guy for later and feed Jeff Saturday to them as a sacrificial lamb at this point. And we'll just kind of cut our losses and check in at the end of the year.
It is. I mean, the optics aren't phenomenal on it, Zach. That's just the only observation I would make, right? Is that we talk about how coveted these positions are, and it doesn't feel like it's that coveted if a guy can just roll out of ESPN and have the job.
I mean, do you really care about optics at this point if your team is just terrible? I mean, what's going to get worse, right? Because the season's going to roll over at the end of the year. You're going to hire a coach, and we're going to forget this even happened, in a year from now if they're in even a slightly different position from where they are right now. This is a conversation we're going to have right now, and it'll be over in a month because the Colts are irrelevant, and the Colts aren't going to do anything for the rest of the year. We're going to talk about the Titans and how good the Titans are, and we're going to talk about the Colts when they hire a coach in January.
Yeah, again, it goes back to like this whole process is broken right now for them. Like they're starting all over, right? They're not keeping anyone in house. They're gonna move on from a ton of the players too, right? They'll probably be on yet another starting quarterback at the start of next year.
For sure, they will be.
Don't be surprised if Jonathan Taylor moves.
Yeah, that's totally up there. So I think that's part of this, right? They're going to try to salvage what they can out of the year, but they also know that this is it for everything, right? Like this is the last dance, right? For all these guys, they're at the end of this, they're blowing it up, and so they're just like you said, they don't expect to get back into the playoff hunt here, but I think that the owner is not ready to say like just fold up shop for next year either.
That's true. And that's the other thing. What if they respond and they win a couple of games, a question on the quarterback. You brought up the quarterback, Zach, and I think, Ryan, this is a good conversation for all three of us real quick. The Matt Ryan timing we thought was a little weird I thought it was weird when they benched him because like a week prior, Frank Reich said, what a leader. He's a leader in our locker room. He threw for 340 in a win the week or two prior, and all of a sudden he's on the bench. He's a third stringer, and it's Sam Ehlinger who's getting the call. I don't think any of us think Sam Ehlinger is the future, and I don't think any of us going into the season thought Sam Ehlinger was the future. I think we've looked at him as a career backup. I mean, he at Texas wasn't anything special, and certainly we can't think he's anything special now. It does feel like weird timing, and now I feel like they are kind of married to this, right, Zach? Like they can't go back to Matt Ryan at this point, can they? Or they can't go to a different guy on that bench. Like they got to ride Ehlinger the rest of the year. And that doesn't look good at all. They may not win a game with Ehlinger as the quarterback.
I think they could go back to him. I think part of that is due to the coaching change, right? With the coaching change, I think they have the option to, if they want to. But he's not, right? He's not a realistic option. We all agree on that?
Yeah.
I think that it's important to note, too, that I believe that there's contractual things that Indianapolis would owe him more money if he plays a certain amount of snaps, and not wanting to pay him that money for the season they're having. They might just leave him on the bench for the rest of the year.
You're talking about Ryan?
Yeah.
There was
a contractual, there was a conditional draft pick that was sent to Atlanta.
Yeah, but that's such a horseshit move, though. I mean, you make the trade, and if you're not out of it, and at 3-5-1, you're not out of it. Tennessee's 5-3. I mean, if you rattle off 3 games, you're in this thing. So, like, and is that out of the realm of possibility that they could rattle off 2-3 games and get back in? Matt Ryan clearly gives you a better chance than Sam Ehlinger. Clearly. It's not even close.
One of those games is against Philadelphia, but you have to beat Vegas and Pittsburgh, which is doable, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out, right? Like this will be. I feel like things like this coaching situation have happened in the NBA, right? Where they just pluck a player, right? Like Jason Kidd is all of a sudden a head coach.
Way more common in the NBA and in the NHL.
Yes.
And hell, MLB.
I think it's happening in MLB a little bit now, where you're seeing guys who are like that's kind of the thing now, right? Like they go grab a former catcher. And,
young like David Ross,
right?
When he became the Cubs manager,
right? And I think a lot of that started after the success that happened in Los Angeles with the Angels, right?
Sosha and Joe Torre's a former catcher, and it seems like that seems to be the move.
And
although David Ross is a terrible manager in Chicago,
but I think that's what they've done, right? They've started to do that, but it hasn't really happened in the NFL.
Yeah, this is definitely unique. It's not something you see every day. We're definitely going to watch that this week to see if it kind of comes together. Fascinated to keep an eye on it. A couple other quick headlines from around the league yesterday. The Rams drop one in the end. I reverse jinx Tom Brady, and it might be the thing that gets the Bucs going. I text you guys a minute before. Tampa Bay just can't score. And then the next thing you know, they score a touchdown. They beat the Rams. A lot of people, there's some steam I'm starting to hear about McVay saying, I'm going out with this group, basically kind of behind the scenes, like he wants to retire. Retire is a terrible word because there's no way we think he gets out of coaching and then stays out.
They were talking about that though, even going into the season with him.
That's right, they were.
That he was going to go do TV.
I guess I just never bought into that hype, but now I'm buying into this hype that I think he might be out at the end of the year, and to go and do stuff. And if he goes out, he's not going out forever here, is he? But I mean, even when Gruden went out, I was like, well, that'll be a year, 2 years. He was out for 10.
Right. And so Bill Cowher never came back. Is this
realistic? And Bill Cowher never came back. Do you buy that McVay would step out and that's it? And be a John Madden coach for like 7 years, get out and be a broadcaster?
I could see it.
I could see it too. I mean, he's photogenic, he's energetic, he's got a lot of popularity. I mean, he's young. There's a lot more money to make in his career, and you can ride being a Super Bowl champion coach forever. I mean, he's all his guys are going to be coaching, and they're going to want to put him on all of those games.
He's got a ton of money, and he'd make a ton of money in TV too, with less stress, less time commitment.
With the money that guys like Romo and Aikman are now commanding and what we assume Brady's going to command when he goes to Fox, is that now a viable thing that if you're a player and you can get out early, or you're a coach and you can get out early, does that feel like a real possibility? Like, does that feel like something that we will now start to contend with, that we might see more guys hang it up in their 30s?
I think so. I think you're going to see guys get out because of the time and the stress and the commitment that it takes, right, to be an NFL coach. And especially guys who have some success early and then start to see some struggles shortly after, they can get out and pull that.
Yeah, I think that it's a lot of criticism and a lot of stress to be a head coach in the NFL. You deal with a lot of bullshit that you don't have to deal with on television. So it's gonna. I think that it is a trend that's going to increase. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a younger coach like McVay win a Super Bowl and then say, I'm taking my talents to ESPN, where I can go make $3 million a year for the next 30 years and not have to work this hard. Right? It's a golden parachute at that point. You don't even have to be on television calling games, going week to week. You can just sit on some panel and get paid to do it for the NFL Today on CBS or something, and you'll be fine. Right? For years, you'll be fine, just like John Madden was.
You might be 100% right. So I just was blown away by that, the way it was picking up steam over the weekend. And it's starting to make me think, like, does that change the coaching landscape? Even more than we already kind of thought it was going to change in the fall, or in the winter. So I guess more to keep an eye on that. We'll monitor that situation as we go forward. All right, guys. Any other headlines real quick before we get into our midterm grades? Anything else that we should hit on over the weekend and what we saw?
No,
I don't think so.
I think I'm ready to pass out some failing grades here.
Ryan, Ryan talking me off the ledge yesterday. We really should just publish our text chain because I was ready to bury the Vikings yesterday and still kind of am, I guess. But Ryan was talking me down, trying to get me to breathe a little bit. I was good on Ryan. Vikings did win 27.
What you got to remember, Tim, and I'll just say this before we move into it. We'll talk more about this game in a few minutes here, but the Vikings are one of the worst teams in the league in the third quarter. And they're one of the best teams in the league in the fourth quarter. I think they're actually the number one scoring team in the fourth quarter. So if they look bad in a tight game in the third quarter, it's not the end of the world. Everybody just take a breath. The fourth quarter's coming. That's where they play their best football. That might not be survivable long term, but for right now, it's a predictable pattern.
To be continued. I'm on board with you. I understand. All right. We're in education in some way, shape, or form. And this is about the time of a trimester or a semester where you hand out midterm grades. I said midterms and Ryan got the jitters because of tomorrow night's election, but no, we're talking midterm grades here, midterm grades. We did this last year as well on the pod. And, it's interesting to see the grading styles of everybody in the room. So obviously we have our traditional A, B, C, D, and F scale. And I've got my teams written down, and I'm sure you guys do as well. How do we want to do this? Do we want to do this division by division, or do we just want to go by the letter grades? Go right down the A line, right down the B line, the C line, the D line, and the F
Let's
line.
go by divisions just for sake of organization.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm better prepared as well.
Okay, so let's keep it kind of pithy so we can work our way through each division. Let's start in the AFC East. The AFC East. Ryan, how about I let you begin in the AFC East?
Well, I'm going to start with my A grade in the AFC East to this point has been the New York Jets. I think that there have been a couple of struggles there, but overall they've shown a tremendous amount of growth. Their coaching staff seems to be settling in. And I think that they're having a pretty good season. Obviously, yesterday is a huge boon for them. They pick up a huge division win against Buffalo, and that was kind of a real big midseason test for them, and they passed it. So defense looks good, offense looks good. They're going to get an A grade from me right now.
Is that the only A you have?
That is the only A I have right now.
Zach, do you have an A?
My A goes to the Buffalo Bills. They are 6-2. The thing that worries me is their 2 losses are in the division. But the way they're doing it has been very skillful. The problem is going to be here is the quarterback healthy, because if he's not, there's not much of a run game to write home about, and they could be in some real trouble in the next few weeks. I mean, so when you start talking about a UCL, that's what is a Tommy John surgery in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I know they said it's not at that point here, but I mean that makes me nervous.
He throws hard.
I'm with
too.
you. It's a concern. I completely agree. I do have Buffalo, and I also have the Jets as A's. I give them both A's. I've done my full mea culpa to Robert Saleh. I think he's done a great job. This year they have done a really nice job, considering Zach Wilson's not perfect, but he is 5-1 as a starter. That's very impressive.
I think my worry with the Jets at 6-3 is they've really struggled at home. Right?
Yep.
They're 2-3 at home. Their point differential is not impressive for having, the winning percentage that they do. So that's why I'm not at an A with them.
Is your concern that it's not sustainable for the Jets?
I think A's are reserved for teams that I think have a chance to do something in the playoffs.
That's fair.
And I don't see that from them right now. And their wins, right? I mean, obviously the win against the Bills is big, but then you look at I don't know. I mean, there's just not a ton of other great wins. I mean, they pounded the hell out of the Dolphins that week, but I think we all know the issues that the Dolphins had in that week. So,
right.
That's fair. That's very fair. That's fair.
I would say the Bills and the Dolphins both get Bs from me in this division. The Bills mostly because of expectations, right? Where they've played really well at times, but we're starting to see some concerns, right? Obviously the quarterback, but I also think that their run defense has not been very good, and they're starting to have some injuries pile up on that side of the ball. They could not stop the run against the Jets yesterday, and that's not the first time that's happened. They got run up on by the Packers. Despite them winning that game, their offense kind of won them that game, but they couldn't stop the run against Green Bay. If you can't control the ball, you can't really control the game, and that's a concern moving forward. But I mean, they're going to get beefs from me just because they're a really good team. I just think that they're not quite living to their potential yet.
Both my other two grades are Bs, and they go to New England and the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins could be getting an A. I mean, their record is probably A worthy. I think their defense isn't very good. I still don't know if the coach is, I'll give the coach credit. He's done some really great work with Tua offensively. The offense is really humming with Waddle and with Tyreek Hill and Tua. I mean, it just felt like they could score at will the last few weeks. But the way he handled the Tua situation, I think there is some concern. I think they're tenuous because, again, I think one hit to the quarterback and I think this thing's done for the year. And we all see what happens when Tua's not in the game. They're just not the same team. But I have them as a solid B. I think it's been an okay performance for Coach Spicoli. And New England, I think, is punching way above their weight. I don't think they have any of the talent that the other teams in the division do. I think they have the fourth best quarterback in the division. I think it's been an interesting thing, but their defense is legitimate and the coach is finding a way to win. They're 5-4. So I say B's for them as well. So Zach, that leaves you.
I've got B's on them as well, but New England's at a B-. I feel like the quarterback has regressed this year, and I think part of that is on the coaching.
That's fair.
And I think just this experiment at coordinator is not worked out the way I think they had planned.
It's not been as bad as I thought.
No, but I don't think
it's not been phenomenal either.
I don't think it's been good either.
No, that's fair.
I have the Patriots at a C, just to put a bow on that. They're about what we expected. They're an average group of players that are pretty well coached. I'm well-run organization, but I think that they just don't have talent there yet.
I wouldn't be surprised if they catch one or two of those teams in that division, though.
Yeah.
I wouldn't either. Their defense is legitimate.
Yeah.
Like, if you're asking me who's got the better defense in the division, I would say New England is probably right with Buffalo, maybe a little behind Buffalo.
Yeah.
But I think their defense is really good.
Miami, they've got some defensive issues, and Tua still misses some throws. Yep. I'm sure you saw a few of them. They were kind of getting scattered around Twitter again today, like where he's got some guys wide open that he just doesn't get the ball to.
Waddle and Hill are making him look fantastic too. Like those two guys are making some plays, like big time plays at wide receiver. All right, let's go to the AFC North. AFC North here, and anybody get an A in this division?
I do not have an A here.
I don't either.
I've got Baltimore at a B+.
Yep,
they're my best grade, and Cincinnati has come on lately, and they're at a B.
Cincinnati started the semester off rough, but they seem to have started to do their homework a little bit here.
Well, the problem with Cincinnati too is like they're 0-3 in the division. Like the last time we did this podcast, we're like, hey, they're starting to figure it out. Then they get just dominated by Cleveland, who for me is at a C- right now. And so I don't have a lot of faith in Cincinnati yet, but maybe, they still put it together.
I've got Baltimore with a B. I think they've gacked away some games where they could easily be at an A. Like they could be playing A-level stuff, but they haven't shown the ability to close every game. That's a concern. They still don't think they got a lot of weapons at wide receiver, too. Concerned about that. I think they're asking for Lamar Jackson to do a little bit too much. And Lamar has done some good things. So they're still a legitimately good team, and they're beating the Saints pretty good tonight. So I've got them at a solid B, but then I got to run a C's. I think I got Cleveland C-, as you mentioned, and I got Cincinnati at a C- as well. Actually, no, just a C, a solid C for Cincinnati. It's a lot of the same for Cincinnati to me. It's hitting, like a C student is what? A C student flashes, but then also has moments where like they're not there. Like it's F-type stuff. And I think that's what you're getting out of Cincinnati. You get moments where, like last Sunday, where they beat the shit out of Carolina and did exactly what they're supposed to do. But then you have games like the one they had against Cleveland, where you're just like, these aren't the same teams.
So,
but that's what you're getting out of a C student.
Okay, here's a question I have. We keep hearing from Cincinnati like, oh, we can't fall back on last year. That team's not here anymore, stuff like that. Is that like a legitimate concern that they're just kind of are going through the motions? Or do you think that's just a cliche talking point like that they're throwing out there to reporters?
I think Super Bowl hangovers are real. Like we see that happen year in and year out. The team that loses the Super Bowl, or even sometimes the teams that win it too, but mostly the teams that lose it, really struggle to ramp back up about this. I was just talking to one of our mutual coaching friends today, Zach, about this thing that he talked about when he made the prep bowl as a high school coach or whatever it was. And he said it was the longest season of his life. He had a hard time regrouping for the next season because the off season was short. It felt like it was 3 weeks long. And then before you know it, you're doing clinics and camps again. And you just never get the chance to like decompress it feels like. And you get the vibe that Cincinnati's kind of that right now. Like they're not decompressing. They didn't decompress that Super Bowl loss or that season. And they're just having a hard time ramping it back up. And now the injuries are mounting up too, which doesn't help.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Just to wrap up this division for me, I've got Pittsburgh at a D.
Me too.
They've got coaching issues. They have quarterback issues. And I'm not saying I'm ready to give up Kenny Pickett here, but the way they handled the whole quarterback situation, I think, has not been good. Like the method when they made the switch, right? They should have made it with the long week. Instead, they make it, after that. The offensive coordinator stinks. I don't know. They're the kid I'm giving a D because I don't want him in class next year.
Ryan, give me one, please. Finish off your grades.
I'm going to go with both of you on Cincinnati and Cleveland. I have Cleveland at a D. I don't think that they've played particularly well. They've had a couple of good games. Their defense hasn't been great. Their offense has looked average at best. I just don't think that they're a very good football team right now. And I have questions about their coaching too. I don't know that Stefanski
I don't know if the coach is good.
Is throwing with everything he's got right now. And Pittsburgh, I know you gave him a D, but I have to give him an F. I think that this season has just been a complete disaster for them. It shows that they have no defensive depth outside of TJ Watt. The quarterback question has not been handled well by the coaching staff, and the coaching staff has had a bunch of problems this year. Just a complete lack of focus, in my opinion, and I have to give them a very poor grade here.
Yeah, but like I said, if you give them an F, they have to retake, and you might see them again next year.
That's fair. I'm not going to be working here next year, so I'm just kidding.
Yeah, he's a probationary teacher. He's getting cut at year's end. He's going somewhere else. He's probably dropping down to a middle school or something like that. Some elementary school. That's where he'll be teaching fifth grade Phi Ed, where they're going to be playing a lot of crab soccer, things like that at the next level. All right, let's go to the AFC South. AFC South. Anybody getting an A?
No.
F's across the board. Anybody getting an A in the AFC South?
Nope.
No.
Me neither. Anybody getting a B in the AFC?
The Titans have a B right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Me too.
I agree.
We had some of a debate, over the last 24 hours about their coaching. And I mean, they're 5-3 but their point differential's at -9. Which they can't score, right? And
no, they really can't. Not with the quarterback they currently have.
No, well, especially and I get that, right? The plan was not to start him, right?
Right.
He was supposed to be 3 weeks off, so
Yeah, he might have been a full year or two off.
Yeah,
like, they knew that was not
off here.
Yep.
So I don't blame them for that. But again, like, I think Vrabel is a good defensive coach, but his offensive stuff stinks.
He is the ultimate, but I give him this. I think he's a good coach because he is looking at his talent and he says, we can't do what everybody else is doing. Like, we can't zing it around the yard 50 times. We can't spread it out. We can't do that. We've got to be this power running old school team. It's kind of like the team you kind of joked and said it's the team that runs triple option. It's kind of true, right? When everybody else is spreading it out and throwing it, he said, you know what? We're going to zag. Everybody's zigging. We're going to zag. We're going to be the power running I formation, try to win the game 17-14. Like, that's who we are. That's the talent we have. And that's what we need to try to do. I give him credit for trying to keep his talent. Like, he's not going to get blown out of a lot of games. Like, he's going to coach up his guys and they're going to play and they're going to be in games. They were double-digit dogs last night and they almost won.
And I understand that. But the other problem with that is, like, you can't win every game like that. At some point, you have to be able to outscore someone.
Yep.
Right? You can't just trust your defense to win every game for you. And there's an inverse to that too, right? Like, at some point you can't trust your offense to just outscore everyone. You have to play defense too. And so
that's very fair.
I mean, I did you see his interview today? They asked him about, can you run Derrick Henry 30 times a game? And he said, the quote was, "We've been able to use him and he's helped us win a lot of games ever since I've been here. I don't know what else we would do. Throw it 50 times? I mean, who the bleep would we throw it to?"
That's true.
That also seems like a shot at the front office.
Well, that might the AJ. I mean, that's just it. I don't know if Vrabel signed off on AJ Brown trade. Like, I don't know if that's something that he was like, I'm cool with. The rookie they drafted hasn't been very good.
Well, he's been hurt too, right? He had turf toe like the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, like, you get rid of AJ Brown, that's a big loss, and it's not like they replenished it with much. Robert Woods.
Well,
I mean, come on.
In fairness, I don't think that they had a choice. I mean, in as much as that AJ Brown said he wanted out.
That's true. I mean, that's true too. But you'd like to get something back a little deeper than that, or go find something. Give the Chiefs credit. They lose Tyreek Hill. They refilled it with different guys. They brought in Valdez-Scantling and Juju Smith-Schuster, and they added a running back, and they filled in the pieces with other things. I don't know if they did that as well in Tennessee. Yeah. But they're in there. They're in there 5-3, and they're going to probably win 10 games and win the division.
His quote did it reminded me of the old John McKay quote when he was at USC. They asked about OJ running the ball 47 times a game. He said, "The ball doesn't weigh that much."
John McKay, I thought you were going to go with how do you feel about the execution of your offense? Well, I'm all for it.
No, this is another one of his great quotes. So, okay, so a B for Tennessee for me. I've got a C for the Colts, and I have a C+ for the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Because the Jaguars seem like that kid who tries really hard and you want to root for. And they're starting to figure stuff out. Like, you're seeing the growth. But they just don't get it yet. But they are the only team in the division with a plus differential. How weird is that?
The Jags are, at least, they've got some pieces that are really interesting to watch. Like, I think Travis Etienne is really starting to kind of get it going. Like, he's starting to be a really interesting guy to watch. Christian Kirk actually looks like a pretty good signing for them. And Lawrence, has moments where he looks like he's figuring it out. So, yeah, I'm with you. I have Jacksonville as a C as well. Ryan, where do you have Jacksonville?
I have Jacksonville at a C+. I think that we kind of said this at the beginning of the year, that the expectation was not that they'd be great, but that Doug Peterson would come in and he'd kind of start to change the culture, and it would kind of be rookie year 2.0 for Trevor Lawrence, where he could actually, work under a coach who, at least has some semblance of an idea of how to coach a professional quarterback. And I think that we're kind of starting to see the fruit of that a little bit, where the offense looks like it's starting to work. They still make some mistakes, and defensively, I don't think that they're very good. But they're kind of middle of the pack statistically, and they're starting to show flashes, and that's a sign of a team that's going to be pretty good in the next couple of years if they can continue to add pieces. And you're right on Christian Kirk. I thought they way overpaid for him in the offseason, but he's been a decent player for them this year. It hasn't always shown up in the stat sheet, but defenses have had to pay attention to him, and that's opened up some other options for them in their offense, like getting ETN the ball, like letting Trevor Lawrence pull it down and run it a little bit, which is a strength for him and has been since he was in college. So they're starting to find their strengths and starting to minimize their weaknesses, which is the start of a really good development of how teams can come together and play really well. And may not be this year, but I certainly think over the next couple of years, if this continues, they're going to be pretty good.
They also, you have Indy as a C as well, or where do you have Indy?
I have Indy as a D. I think that the expectation coming in was that Matt Ryan was going to lead them a little bit better than they have. And Jonathan Taylor being hurt has been a huge issue for them. Their offensive line has had a huge regression this year.
They stink.
Yeah, their defense has not been what even close to what they were the last couple of years, despite playing really well. And when they do play well, it just does not feel like they're getting the payoff that they need from the offense. So I have to give them a D. You fire your coach in the middle of the season, you're lucky you're not getting an F.
See, that's an F for me. You fire the coach, it's an F, because that's like withdrawing from the college class midway through the trial. That's like saying, I can't pass it. I'm out. I got to get out of here. I got to take the incomplete or the F penalty. And I got Houston with an F as well. God bless Lovie Smith. But they're not a requisite. They play hard. They're just not going to win a lot of games. They're going to win 2-3 games.
I've got Houston at a D minus. I don't have them failing because we knew these last 2 years were going to be tough, right? They had gutted all their draft picks. They didn't have a ton of talent. So they're kind of doing what they need to do to put themselves in a better spot going forward. So I at least give them credit for that.
Yeah.
Ryan, where do you have Houston?
I have Houston at a D. They're the kind of student that has problems at home, that they're just not getting enough to eat. They're doing their absolute best. They got to take care of their siblings, and the resources just aren't there. But they show up and they do their work when they can. The homework might not all get done, and it seems like they're putting things together, but it's just not showing up on the test scores. So
the parents are out busy settling lawsuits. I mean, there's a lot going on. A lot going on over there.
Dad's not really in the picture. Mom's working 2 jobs. You do what you can. She does show up to conferences, which is nice, but it doesn't really matter. You got to give him a D plus.
Let's go to the AFC West. Let's stop with this nonsense. Oh, geez, Louise. All right, A's for the AFC South or AFC West. A's. Anybody got an A?
The Chiefs.
Me too. Yep. So we all got an A to the Chiefs. Pretty standard. How about B's?
I've got a B plus for the Chargers.
I agree.
I think
defense hasn't played great. They got a lot of room to grow, but I'll give them a B.
But they have so many injuries right now.
They do have a lot of injuries.
It feels like, the quarterback is pulling them all through, and he's banged up himself.
Yeah.
Their credit, like they gutted out that win in Atlanta with no wide receivers. The quarterback basically just willed them to victory. I give them credit for that. I have to give them a B minus though. The coach is still a liability to me. Like I think he's going to lose him some games. Like I don't think he's a very good coach. I think he's reckless. He might be a good coach, but he is reckless in his day-to-day game management.
But analytics.
And so that costs him. What's
but
that?
Analytics.
Oh, but analytics. The numbers, Tim. But the numbers. Anybody get a C? Ryan, where do you have the Chargers? You have the Chargers at a B? You said B as well,
I got
right?
Chargers at a B.
All right, how about a C? Anybody got a C?
No C's.
Me neither. How about D's?
I have the Raiders at a D. Their defense continues to underperform. Offensively, they've taken, despite adding a significant piece who I think might be a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL, just not using him well. And their quarterback has had a serious regression this year. The coach, you hoped that maybe Josh McDaniels might have been able to figure it out after a stint in Denver, but he just seems like he was a bad hire at this point. And now you've got tension with Devontae Adams, who you just signed to a huge contract with him and the head coach. I got to get the Raiders a D here.
What is the tension there? I missed it.
Adams was throwing shade after the game, stopping just short of saying that Josh McDaniels has no business of being in an NFL locker room as a head coach.
Gotcha.
Nice.
I've got both the Broncos and the Raiders at D's. I was surprised that we didn't see the Broncos lost on their bye week, because it feels like that would have been another one they could have dropped. Both teams are just a mess right now, and they're prime candidates for eliminator coming up.
I do have Denver at a D as well, only because they've been able to squeak a couple lucky wins out, and they're still kind of in it. But I think the coach looks overmatched, and the quarterback looks washed, and it's a real problem with the money that they've committed to him. The Raiders are an F. I think they came in with expectations that they were going to be good. They have a veteran quarterback in that division that they really like, that they've paid a lot of money for. They paid a lot of money for the wide receiver, and we talked about how kismet they were, how they were pals and all this stuff. Jacobs has quietly had a half-decent season at running back. Their defense, they have talent defensively. I mean, Pit Boss Rich got a lot more out of this team than McDaniels is. I think Josh McDaniels is one and done. I think this has been a total failure. I think they're firing him at the end of the season. Like this can't be called anything more than a failure.
I for a lot of the similar reasons, I have the Broncos at an F. Every mistake that you could possibly make in an off season, Denver appears to have made. They fired the wrong coach. They traded too many pieces for a bad quarterback. They have underperformed at every phase of in every phase of the game. They've unloaded arguably their best defensive talent. They have not really gotten enough back for him. I don't think that they're in a really good cap situation either moving forward. I have to look and check again, but I don't believe they're in a really good cap situation moving forward. The Broncos are a team that thought they were in a wider window than they are, and appear to have made every mistake and have closed that window themselves.
It's not good. It's not good. All right, let's move it along quickly. I agree with you. I echo all of those sentiments, by the way. AFC, let's go to the NFC. NFC West. Let's start there. NFC West. We were in the AFC West just now. Let's go NFC West. Anybody getting an A in the NFC West?
I do not have any A's here.
I have one A in the NFC West.
You might be the same as mine.
The Seattle Seahawks for me are an A.
I think so too.
They remind me of the 2017 Vikings in that I don't think that they're super talented, but they're winning games with a quarterback who has no business winning those games in kind of a catch lightning in a bottle sort of way. And I don't think that they're a Super Bowl contender by any stretch of the imagination. Their defense really isn't very good. But I think that they're a team that are going to give a lot of people problems. And I think they may have just found the right situation at the right time for Geno Smith, and Pete Carroll's a really good coach. And I think that's what we're finding out this year.
I agree on Seattle. I think they're an A because we thought this would be like a 3-win outfit or a 4-win outfit and here they are. And when you get to week 9, week 10, and you keep doing what you're doing, like that was a big time. That was a kind of a big nut, big ball win on the road over Arizona. Go on the road, beat a division team. Yeah, they stink. Still go on the road and win that game if you're any good. If you're any good, you win that game. And they did. They won the game by 10 points and really weren't threatened.
And if I'm going to bring the offseason into it again, they fleeced the hell out of Denver, and it looks more and more like they won every part of that trade.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So,
I mean, I understand you guys giving some credit for the expectations versus the reality for them. I just, I'm not ready to put them at an A level with,
that's fair,
with Kansas City and some of the more elite teams.
That's fair. So you have them at a B.
I have them at a B. I have the 49ers at a B. I think I've got the Rams are at a C. I think the Cardinals are an F for me.
Cardinals are an F for me too. We agree on that.
It just feels like a mess in all areas. And it's not, and I don't see the path out of it right now. Because
they're in cap hell too. They have no money the next 3 years.
There's no money. The quarterback's not great, and you've got a ton of money tied up in him now. I don't think the head coach is the right guy. But it's all that stuff where we've talked about, like, the quarterback's good enough that you keep him around and you felt like you had to pay him, but I don't think you're going to go anywhere with him.
And the coach is, I think, done failing upward, right? I think we've seen that the coach couldn't win in Texas Tech with Patrick Mahomes and can't win in Arizona with Kyler Murray. At some point, the coach is not a good enough coach, right? Like, at some point, you have to assess his record and just say, you're a good-looking guy, you might be a hotshot play caller, but you're not a head coach, and not in this league anyway. Go take a job at Central Florida or wherever the hell it is in college. Go take a gig somewhere, go win there, and we'll talk later. But it ain't happening right now for you.
Yeah, it does.
I have them as an F2.
I do too. It feels like the end of the road for this group in Arizona. I don't know that they can keep the GM around with this unless they decide to keep him for one more coach here and see if the coach fixes the issue, because they are talented. They've got talent on both sides of the ball. It's just a question of how much talent is able to get them over the top, and if that talent is well coached enough, and is there a coach out there that can do that with this group? So I don't know how many more chances they're going to give Steve Keim, but I mean, it might be time's up for him too. They get my F.
I have the Rams at a D.
I do too.
So I'm with you there. I have the Rams at a D. I think the Rams have been disappointing. The quarterback looks overmatched. The line doesn't look very good. They can't run the ball. Like, they can't. It's just impossible for them to run the football. And it seems like the only guy they can throw to is Cooper Kupp. You got Van Jefferson pissing and moaning because he can't catch the football. And then they throw it to him and all he does is drop it. They still haven't gotten Allen Robinson involved. The Rams are, I don't get it. Like, they're not a good football team.
Well, and the Rams, the offensive line is the major issue for the Rams right now. They lose Andrew Whitworth. He retires. And what you're seeing is the importance of leadership in an offensive line group. They just don't seem to have any kind of cohesion on the line of scrimmage. And you have to have that if you're going to be successful in an offense that wants to run the ball. And this is a team that, you remember the last couple of years, their successes came from running the ball. They were able to move the chains running the ball and then run their play action, roll out, throw it to Cooper Kupp, get guys moving across the formation, kind of get the ball in your playmakers' hands. And suddenly you're not in a situation where that's the case anymore, and the offense falls apart. So the problems on the offensive line are numerous. The problems with running the ball have led to problems in the passing game, and now you can't get the ball where it needs to go. I mean, you kind of got to ask the question of, is this a McVay problem or is this a front office problem?
Could be a little bit of everything. They've mortgaged everything every year, and eventually the credit card bill comes due. I mean, and that's kind of what they've been doing, is just kind of kicking the can. My last grade on this one, I have the Niners at a C.
I do too.
I think, they're just a middle-of-the-road team right now. Of course, they've made some good trades. I think the McCaffrey trade is going to help them this year. I think Garoppolo is going to do what they can to get in the playoffs. I think they're going to be there in the end. They're going to be a wild card team here. I really think that. But
I think they're going to win the division.
I don't know. You still think they're going to win the division? Okay.
I'm not backing down on that Seattle stuff.
No, rightful, and you might be right. Like, could they lose in Munich, Germany this Sunday morning against Tom?
Nope.
Would you be shocked? Wouldn't be shocked at all if Tom found a way to squeak a 21-17 win over Seattle in Germany. And then we're talking about something completely different from both sides. It's very possible. Let's go to the NFC South. Anybody get an A?
No A's.
Speaking of, no A's.
No.
Anybody get a B?
No.
I have one B. I'll give the Falcons a B. Arthur Smith has done a good job. Like, I think, like, that team, again, we eliminated them first because we thought that was a 2-win outfit. And yes, they're 4-5, but I think they're punching above their weight. I don't think Marcus Mariota is a good quarterback. I don't even think Kyle Pitts is that good at tight end right now. We haven't seen any evidence to support that. Cordero Patterson is like their best player, and he's been hurt half the year. And yet, there they are. They're much more competitive than I thought. Even that game yesterday against the Chargers, they really could have won that game. I feel like they've been in the lion's share of the games they've played this year. They're just punching way above their weight. I think they're a D student getting B grades right now. I give them a B. So I have them there. What about C's?
Everyone.
Yeah, I've got everyone here except for the Panthers.
Carolina's got a C for you too?
No.
Carolina has a C for me because Carolina has identified the problem and gotten rid of it.
That's fair.
Okay.
And so
that's interesting. I hadn't thought about it like that. I had not thought about it like
so
that. That's a good idea.
They have at least done some self-reflection and graded themselves and identified their issues. And I give them credit for that, because that was a bad hire to begin with. They knew they had quarterback issues. They're going down the same road that the Colts went down. Let's just have a new quarterback every year. Well, guess what? If other teams are getting rid of those guys, they're not that good, right? We've talked about how many teams hold on to average quarterbacks and mess that up. So if teams are willing to give up those guys, they're not that good.
There's some truth to that.
So I give Carolina credit for that. I understand they're probably frustrated. They may not win another game. They're going to end up with a high draft pick, but I think identifying the head coach and getting out from under that was the right move.
I have 2 C's here. I have C minuses for New Orleans and Tampa Bay. I think Tampa, if they hadn't won yesterday, I think Tampa would be looking at D minus if they would have lost yesterday's game. But winning that game did matter. It moved them to a C minus. New Orleans as well, C minus. I think, again, they're getting it done with Andy Dalton. They're actually moving the ball with Andy Dalton, Chris Olave. Michael Thomas is a joke. Like, he's not going anywhere. He's done. And Kamara looks washed up. So I think they've done a good job with what they've had. And Tampa, maybe this is the catalyst. I'm not ready to say yes or no on that. But again, would I be shocked if they beat Seattle this Sunday? No, wouldn't be shocked at all. So I think they're still in it. And because of that, I got to go C minus. Had they lost yesterday, that would have been something different.
I think.
All right.
I think on Tampa, on New Orleans, real quick. As much money as they have tied up in Alvin Kamara and Mike Thomas is a huge problem for them. The way those contracts are structured, if they get rid of either of those guys via trade or via cut, it is going to nuke their cap until it glows. They have absolutely nowhere to go. You want to talk about mortgaging everything for the last 5 years? New Orleans has poured everything onto their credit card, and they are facing a huge problem because of it.
Well, they're stuck. And so they need those guys to get arrested, go to jail, do something, retire. They need something because they can't. I don't think that's going to be a winnable situation for them down the road, but they're getting it done with Andy Dalton and Chris Olave. So to their credit, they're getting beat tonight 17-3 to Baltimore as we speak, but it hasn't been as bad as we thought in New Orleans this year. Dennis Allen's still not a good coach. Like, I'll just say that. Let's go to the NFC North. One good team, a lot of teams with losing records. Anybody getting an A?
Yeah, Minnesota's a good A.
Yeah, Minnesota's got an A.
Minnesota gets an A. I have Minnesota in an A as well. 7-1, they're getting an A. Anybody with a B?
Nope.
I have no Bs.
I have no
anybody
Bs.
getting a C?
I have the Bears at a C minus.
I have the Bears at a C.
I have the Bears at a C minus as well. I think the Bears they're better. Like, they're actually showing growth over the course of the year. I think they're growing. They're getting better.
They've shown growth. Their play calling has shown some improvement. I don't think you can rely on your quarterback to run the ball for 100 yards every game, let alone 170. But they're at least showing the ability to put him in better spots, which is something we've been talking about for how many weeks on the podcast here.
Correct. So to their credit, they get that.
Detroit's a D minus. They're the same as always. Like, they'll be looking for a new head coach next year and starting over once again. And I have Green Bay at an F right now.
I'll flip you on that. I have Green Bay at a D, and I have Detroit at an F. I just think it's a total fail.
The only pass I give Green Bay is that they've been beat up injury wise. They have not been fortunate there. They've lost some important pieces, and but this is the year that I was worried about last year. If you go back to our pod after week 1 last year, right when they got blown out by the Saints, I said, this has a chance to go south in a hurry, just with where everyone's at and what the team looks like. And I think we're seeing it now. And I mean, they're going to be underdogs, big underdogs the next 3 weeks. So they're in big time trouble right now.
Yeah. We might get more into Green Bay as we get closer in those coming weeks. But yeah, I'm with you on that. Ryan, where's your grades on that?
I've got Detroit at a D. If we're going to talk about expectations, I thought that, we thought that they would be a little bit better than this. Maybe, I got a little too high on them early because of Hard Knocks. I'll admit that, but it just doesn't seem like the experiment has worked at all. And Green Bay gets an F for me. I mean, you want to talk about every year I kind of nominate a team where I feel like the wheels could come off. Last year it was Seattle, and that kind of seemed to be the case last year. This year I thought it would be Tampa Bay, and it kind of has, but they seem to maybe be pulling it together a little bit. And Green Bay should have been on that radar for me this year. I mean, they just seem like between the injuries and the issues with the quarterback play. I mean, Aaron Rodgers does not look good right now.
A lot of picks, a lot of bad picks yesterday.
He's playing what I like to call fuck it football, which is I'm just gonna throw it where I want to throw it, and it's not turned out well for him so far. If there is to be any kind of turnaround there, it needs to start at the quarterback position, and really great all-time talent at quarterback, just not playing well right now.
Maybe a little friction with the coach too. I don't know. There's some underneath stuff in those press conferences if you want to try to read into that, but maybe we'll talk about Green Bay down the road. Last division, let's do that and let's get it rolling. NFC East. Who gets an A? I think Philly's obvious, right? Everybody gives Philly an A.
You guys sure?
Well, stop that. Come on. Get the fuck out of here with that. Seriously. I mean, you make it sound like we've been shitting all over the Eagles all year. That is not true. It's not true.
Ryan had him third in the power rankings in our last one.
That's true. Okay,
I just hate the city of Philadelphia.
He was actively rooting for the Astros to win the World Series.
So yes, they have an A. And I know
I gotta give Dallas an A too.
Dallas gets an A from me too.
Dallas has an A- for me.
Yep.
Because I'm still not sure how it translates long term for them through the season.
Yeah.
The Giants are B+. Because they're doing a lot of good things. And the interesting thing between comparing the Giants and the Jets right now, I think, is that the Giants head coach is on year 1.
That's true.
And he's been able to make that
with less talent. I would argue less talent. Like the quarterback, I mean, Jones has been there a long time, but we don't think he's that good, and no wide receivers.
And then Washington, I have at a B-, which might be a little higher than what you guys have them at.
I gotta see.
I think that they've played competitive football even in their losses. They found a way. Right, they were coming and they would won 3-4 in a row. Before falling to the Vikings, they played Minnesota tough, and the reality is, I feel like they should have won that game, but they got a little heady, right?
The pick by Heineke to Smith, that was a bad one. Like that killed him.
And I think stylistically too, like they could have played that a little different, but I'll digress on that. I'm not a huge fan of the coach. I've never been a Ron Rivera guy, but I give them some credit for what they're doing. And I hope it doesn't just completely fade away, because I think Washington being good is good for football. Especially because we get stuck watching all those NFC East games.
And it's a compelling thing with the ownership situation. And I do think Ron Rivera is he may not be your favorite stylistic coach. I think he's a professional football coach. Like, that guy legitimately is a coach in this league that belongs there. Like, more than a Josh McDaniels, maybe more than some of these other guys. Like, Ron Rivera is like, yeah, that guy's a professional football coach. Like, he gets his team ready to play. Mm-hmm. Very rarely are they not ready to go. Like, they're always got a game plan that seems sound. They hang around. They've been better with Heineke than Wentz. Not a surprise, I suppose, by some. I give him a solid C.
Doesn't feel like they get blown out ever.
It doesn't seem like they do. If you feel like they hang around, like with lesser stuff, and McLaurin's been pretty good lately, you just feel like the head coach finds a way to get stuff out of guys. And I give him a lot of credit for that. So I don't know. I'll give him that. All right, there's our midterm. Nice work, everybody. Let's quickly move along because we've got a couple segments to get to before we wrap up this pod this week. Let us go right to the Do we do the eliminator first? No, we do the standings first. Standings, picks. Let's do those really quick. Coming into this week, Zach, we did not pick last week, as you know, but Zach is rolling on the pod. Zach, as of the first 7 weeks of the season, continues to be number one. He is 23-12. 23-12.
I think it's all the research that I put into it.
Lots of research. Yep, you're pouring a lot of time and energy. Ryan's made a charge. Ryan's 21-14. I'm 20-15. I'm struggling a little bit down the stretch. All right. First game, guys. Seattle, Tampa Bay, Sunday morning football from Munich, Germany. 1-point favorites are the Seahawks. Ryan, where are we going?
Tight game. I mean, obviously, it seems like the line is that too. I'm going to take the Seahawks in this one. I just think their defense is playing above their weight, and I think Geno Smith is playing really well. And I think this is another game where the injuries on Tampa's defense are going to catch up to them.
I think that Tampa Bay is going to win this game.
I do too. I'm going to take Tampa as well.
I think the veteran experience there of all those guys will help in, the long road trip and how to attack this. And I think there's hopefully they can start to put it together offensively. God, they cannot run the ball though. That's the scary thing.
No, they can't. They got to run the ball. Tom will be treated like the Beatles when they landed here for the Ed Sullivan Show in Germany. I think they'll be throwing all kinds of stuff at him. He's going to feel like a big star. He's not going to be in this negative malaise. I think that win did a lot for him. And let's see if that revs them up for a nice win. I'm going to take Tampa as well to win this game and beat the Seahawks. It's a long flight for both teams, but it feels like a really long flight for Seattle. It just feels really long. Minnesota's at Buffalo. The Bills, coming off a loss, are still 7.5-point favorites to the Vikings. Kind of the marquee matchup here. 7.5 points, though, Zach.
So this is hard because we're picking on Monday night with a questionable quarterback for Buffalo.
Correct.
So with that in mind, I'm going to take Minnesota because if Josh Allen doesn't play, I mean, that could swing all the way around to the Vikings being favored. Right?
That's true.
That sounds like a lot, right? That one player's worth that much, but he might be in this situation. Otherwise, we get the Case Keenum revenge game, right?
It's not the worst backup to have in Case Keenum. It's not the worst backup you could have for a game.
No, but...
And they're basically saying... And with it being a home game, they're basically saying it's like, what, like a 4-point game is what they're suggesting this would be without that.
Right? They just don't have a run game, so...
That's true. Ryan, so you're taking Minnesota to cover. Okay. Ryan.
Yeah, I'm going to see. I agree that Josh Allen is a huge wild card here, but I think if he tries to play hurt, it might arguably be worse for them, because he's just not looked good, especially this past week. He just didn't look good. The throws weren't right. The placement wasn't right. He's putting it high in places where he shouldn't be putting it high. He's missing out and throws out to the sidelines. And Minnesota's defense, as bad as they've looked at times, is opportunistic as hell. It feels like they come up with a turnover at just the right time every single week. And right when they need it, it just happens to be there. Zadarius Smith is getting a ton of pressure and moving quarterbacks off their spot. And the big thing for me is, as I mentioned this earlier, Buffalo's defense just isn't stopping the run. So teams are able to control the ball against them and keep that offense off the field. And Minnesota runs the ball really, really well. I'm going to take Minnesota in this game.
I'm going to take Buffalo regardless. Buffalo will win and cover. I just think that at home, these road games, this is not going to be an easy place for the Vikings to play. And the Vikings can't just fall asleep for 3 quarters like they did against Washington and win this game. Like, I just don't see that happening. And I feel like the Vikings have been playing with a little fire scarecrow like all season long, letting teams into it, playing bad third quarters, going into these long stretches where they can't move the ball. Can't do that here. I think Buffalo slaps them on the wrist a little bit, and I think Buffalo wins by 10 or more. So I'll take Buffalo. Next one. The Chargers at the 49ers. The Niners are 6-point favorites. Ryan, 6-point favorites for the Niners.
Home game for the Niners. Niners have looked really good since they picked up Christian McCaffrey. I know that and they're coming off a bye, right? That's another big thing. A home game off a bye with another week for McCaffrey to kind of get into the offense. They beat the Rams last time they played, and it feels like that they're starting to turn a corner a little bit after that Kansas City game. So I want to take the Niners in this one.
I would not be surprised to see the 49ers win the game, but I think 6 is too many points to give. And so
Chargers cover.
Yeah, I will take the Chargers.
Yeah, this is kind of a prove it game for me for the Chargers. Like, if you're legit, find a way to if you lose this game, fine, you lose this game, but don't get blown out here. Don't get beat by 2 scores to San Francisco. I can't take you seriously if that happens. I'm going to take the Chargers to cover as well. I think the Niners can win this game, but I'd like to see this be a 3-point game. That's what I want to see. Justin Herbert have a big game against a good defense on the road, keep it close, maybe even pull it out in the end. Give me the Chargers to cover the 6 here. Dallas, Green Bay. Dallas on the road at Lambeau, a rare occurrence where Dallas is a 4.5-point favorite in Green Bay. Zach.
Is there anything that Green Bay's done right now that can make you bet on them? I to be honest, there's part of me that wants to say, it's McCarthy coming back in, so
circle the wagons for the, Rodgers circles the wagons, rallies the troops.
And they're so beat up now, right? I mean, Rashawn Gary's out. Aaron Jones was in a boot. So with all that, I'm going to go with Dallas.
Ryan.
So Aaron Jones, apparently x-rays came back negative. He's planning to play this weekend. A big get for the Packers offense, but I don't think it's going to matter very much. They're not playing outside of the injuries. It's just the quarterback's not playing well. This is a very good defense they're going to play. Now, I think that Lambeau Field kind of mitigates some of the speed that Dallas likes to play with a little bit. So I'm not sure that that's going to be quite as much of an advantage as I normally would think if they were playing in Dallas. Still, 4 points isn't that much, and Dallas is a really good team. I'm probably going to go with Dallas to win and cover.
I think this is a kitchen sink game, and I think Rodgers is going to. This is a backs against the wall. We've got to find a way. The league is weird. Every time you want to count a team out, something happens. I think Green Bay finds a way to win and cover the 4.5. I think they're going to kitchen sink this thing. The weather's not going to be great.
Yeah, are you thinking kitchen sink this, like throw a pass to your left tackle on 4th and 1?
They're going to do whatever it takes, right? So it's empty. Yeah, I know that they didn't get the Bakhtiari thing going, but I think you throw everything out. It's onside kicks. It's, going for 2. It's everything you can think of. That's what they're going to do. Game time temp right now looks like 33 degrees in Green Bay on that Sunday. This is the kind of weather that Dak doesn't play well in. I do think there's enough elements here to make me think this is Rodgers' last stand. Like, they're basically saying, we're going to plant a flag in the ground here and throw everything we got at them. And if we lose, it's over. Like, we're going to go 4-13 the rest of the way. But if we can win this game, maybe we can rally back and get it to 8-8 or 8-9 and make a run at this thing. I'm going to take Green Bay. I'm going to take Green Bay to somehow upset the Cowboys. Last one. Chicago's 2.5-point favorites against the Lions in the bottom of the barrel bowl in the NFC North. But there weren't a lot of good games that were compelling or interesting. I think this game is actually watchable for 2 bad teams. This is a game that I actually would watch. Ryan, 2.5-point favorite for the Bears.
This to me is the comeback to earth game for Justin Fields.
What? You're singing his praises. What happened?
I think that the confidence that Detroit has coming off of the Green Bay game, I think that the The way that Aiden Hutchinson is playing right now, I don't know that Chicago's offensive line is going to be able to hold up against the pass rush. And it sticks out to me as a game where you have a really great game and there's still growing pains in Chicago. I'm going with Detroit to win.
Nope, I'm taking Chicago. That Detroit defense is probably the worst defense in the league. And I think you might see, you're not going to see the same type of numbers, but you're going to see a similar type of attack here by Chicago where he throws for 150 and runs for 80 and they win 24-10.
Don't make fun of me. I'm trying to close the gap with Zach here.
I like what you're doing. I'm taking the Bears as well here. I think, like I said, I think they found something here. I think, Luke Gedsy's kind of starting to figure out how to be an offensive coordinator, and Eberflus might be a better coach than I was giving him credit for at the beginning of the season. I'm not saying he's a great coach. I'm not ready to give him a George Halas bust here or anything, but he's at least showing some adjustments, and he's showing that he can self-scout and and reflect a little too, and I like that. So give me the Bears to win this game. I think they're going to get back and be in this thing for a little bit longer. So good job by the Bears. All right, there's our picks. They're in. Let's go to the eliminator. It's double elimination. I think we agree on one of the two teams, right? We talked yesterday about the Las Vegas Raiders. Is it officially time to eliminate
Yep,
them?
we got to throw the Raiders on the eliminator for sure.
Sorry, Newey.
You're out. Vegas, you're out of here. Tribe has spoken. Time for you to go. It is, that one was pretty easy. Now, number 2, the double elim. We've got some choices here. Where do you want to go?
So,
Zach, throw a
right,
couple.
so here's the interesting thing. I think if we had done the show last week, it could have been the Jaguars. And now,
I think it was going to be if we were going to do the show last week.
well, I mean, we hadn't come to a consensus, but I think that would have been the pick. That probably would have been my
The
lead.
loser leaves town in that Broncos game.
Yeah. However, I think they've staved off elimination.
Yep. I think there are teams that were ready for elimination more than Jacksonville.
I know yesterday I said the Rams, but Tim, you convinced me the Cardinals are probably worse. So I think the Cardinals are my vote.
Cardinals look like they're going nowhere fast. Like, we definitely don't think they're going to beat Seattle or San Francisco in the division. We're not even sure they're better than the Rams. So
Correct. And they trail.
I think that's fair.
They trail in a lot of tiebreakers. So, like, if you actually look at the current playoff standings, they are the lowest team in the NFC that we have not yet eliminated.
Ryan, anybody want to throw out there as well? Obviously, Indy's worth a convo, but yeah, you're right. They're only like a game and a half back of Tennessee or 2 games back of Tennessee. So it's hard to say they're out of that, especially if Malik Willis has to keep playing quarterback. You wonder what they'll do there. But yeah, what do you think?
The team that I agree on Arizona, I'll be clear, but the team that I want to throw out there just as a conversation piece is Baltimore's winning right now. Cincinnati blew out Carolina. We should probably have a conversation about Cleveland. I know they're on a bye week this week, but that team doesn't feel like they're getting any better. It is not going anywhere fast for Cleveland. So I'm going to throw them out there. We don't have to pick them this week, but probably someone we should start talking about.
The only reason I can't say anything on Cleveland yet is they did come off that win against Cincinnati, and if they could rattle off 1 or 2 more and be like a game or 2 below 500 when Watson gets back in, again, we don't know what Watson's going to be like. We have no idea. But if you got to think, if they're in it in any way, shape, or form, Watson gives them an immediate upgrade that we can't eliminate them on, right? Like, is if they stay in it. Now, if they drop 2 games here in the next couple weeks, then yes, they're going to be out of it because they're going to be 3-8 and it's over and whatever. But if they can somehow make this to 5-6, 4-6, 4-7, like, you got to think that they're at least compelling with Watson coming in. That would be my thought. Arizona, do we like Arizona then?
I'll take the Cardinals.
Yeah, I think the Cardinals is good for our balance as well. Sometimes we get a little too
league heavy or conference heavy. All right, Raiders, Cardinals. Tribe has spoken. You're out. Get out. Hit the bricks. See you later. No more talking about you. All right. Power rankings quick as we wrap up the pod this week. Things are shuffling around a little bit, maybe. Let's see. Number 5. Who do you got? Ryan, Who do you got? Number 5.
Well, I'm pulling up my list here real quick.
How do you not have this committed to memory? I'm just
kidding. You asked me for prep, Tim, because the last couple
I know,
of times I haven't
sorry.
prepped this,
Yes, I get
grilled
it.
on the pod.
All right. You got it.
Oh, all right. My number 5 team right now, barring an epic collapse in this one, is the Baltimore Ravens. I think that they're playing well.
Baltimore, number 5. Zach.
I have the Chargers at number 5. I think they're trending in the right direction, and I think they're going to get healthy here at some point, and they'll be a team to be reckoned with.
I'm going to stay with Dallas at number 5. Even though they were on bye, I'm going to stay with them. Yes, I did predict that they will lose this week in Green Bay, but I still think they're a good football team, and I think they're better than the teams that we just put out there. Their defense is legit. I'm going to stay with Dallas until further notice. Dallas is 5 for me. Number 4, Ryan.
My number 4 team lost to a team that maybe we should start having in this conversation, but I'm going to put the Buffalo Bills at 4 this week. I thought that was it. Just feels like maybe they're starting to hit some bumps in the road at the wrong time when the Jets are coming on, and that's not where you want to be at this point in the season. I think eventually it's going to work itself out, and they're still the best team in that division, and they may still be the best team in the AFC. But for right now, I'm going to put them at 4.
Zach.
I also have the Bills at 4. I think in addition to some of the stuff that you said, Ryan, the possible injury to the quarterback has a lot of questions in the air right now. And that coupled with a loss last week, that drops them to 4 in my rankings.
I've got the Minnesota Vikings at 4. I still believe that they are out of that top tier of teams. I think there's the 3 really, really good teams, and the Vikings are a notch below that. Now, beat Buffalo this week, and we're talking about something completely different. But I need to see it. And I'd like to see a step on the throat of a team every once in a while. Go beat somebody by 2 scores. That would be refreshing. So I give me Minnesota at 4. I still have them out in the outside kind of looking in on this top 3.
I've got the Vikings
number 3,
at
Ryan.
3. Yeah, I'll jump in there,
Perfect.
just piggybacking off of you. They're 7-1 now, and
right,
we'll learn maybe a lot this weekend against the Bills. Maybe both ways. I mean, depending on who the quarterback is, but I think that they've earned that at this point. They're 7-1. It hasn't always been pretty. I considered them maybe at 2, but some of those hiccups and the stuff that you don't like, Tim, have them at 3 in mine.
Fair enough. Ryan?
My number 3 team is the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm just kidding. I
was going to punch you in the face.
I wanted to get a reaction out of Zach there. My number 3 team is the Minnesota Vikings, for all the reasons that Zach brought up as well. But it's at some point finding a way to win is the way that good teams do it. And it doesn't matter how you do it for 3 quarters, as long as the scoreboard looks the right way at the end. And they've done it 7 times now. And that's not just, commendable. They're not just a cute little team. They're winning football games. And in some cases, in almost every case, these are games that over the last 4 years, we would have grown accustomed to them losing, as evidenced by Tim's reaction in the text chain this weekend. They're opportunistic. They're playing well when they need to play well. I mean, I think about every game. There's a moment with them that you can kind of pinpoint as the turning point. For me, it was that play that Cousins he got hurt and he came out for a play, but he just dropped a dime to Jefferson when they absolutely had to have it. And it turned the game on its head. They scored on that drive and the game turned over. So it was, whenever they need to have it, they seem to be getting it. And Cousins seems to be playing his best football right now.
Fair enough. I think all of that's very fair. All of that's fair. I just can't put them ahead of Buffalo yet without seeing it. I have Buffalo at 3. They drop out of my number 1 spot. They fall to 3. I still think they're very, very good. They do have some things that I'm concerned about, and I'd like to see those things get rectified so they can move themselves back up the rankings, but they are 3 for right now. I think we agree on 2 and 1, right? Do we have 2 and 1? Can we all say we have Kansas City at 2?
Yes.
Yes. Ryan?
Yeah, that's fine.
You God, you're so bad. Your bias is so horrible. You can't give it to them. The Chiefs are number 2, and that leaves number 1 the Philadelphia Eagles.
New York Giants.
8-0.
The New York Giants, number 1.
Give credit where credit's due.
Fine.
I think the Eagles at 8-0 have done yeoman's work. Jalen Hurts looks like an MVP. Big fan.
Go ahead, Zach.
They've played well, and I know there are people out there that criticize the schedule. But who has the most wins versus a team that was 500 or better when they played? It's the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah. And the league's weird right now. Like, you can't take any game for granted. I mean, teams lose all the time in this thing. Like, there's so many teams that have walked into games as road favorites or home favorites and lost games. You can't sleep on anybody in this league. I mean, even the really horrible Carolina Panthers, if you're not ready to play football, they'll beat you. Like, that's kind of the whole process of this week in and week out in the league right now. It's so weird to figure out. And the Eagles have done a good job of stepping over the landmines. Good job by Philly. You're number 1 this week. Congratulations to you.
So one thing I'll say on Philly before we close this is it does seem to be that there are some injuries beginning to pile up on defense for them. They lost Jordan Davis in the middle. Their corners are banged up. We're starting to see some nagging stuff for linebackers with them. They're not stopping the run quite as well as they used to earlier in the season. Now that can change. They can get healthy. The talent is obviously still there, but just something to watch moving forward. That if they start to show signs of weakness, some issues in the armor there, it's going to come from the defensive side of the ball, I think. So just something to watch moving forward. They're still the best team in football, but if we start to see some struggles, I think that's where it's going to crop up.
We'll keep an eye on it. Another crazy week in the league in the books. We're wrapping things up, taking the turn for home now. Week 10. We start the second half of the NFL season this week.
Thank God, says my
Cannot
wife.
wait. Thank you. 143 days till first pitch in Major League Baseball already. So just go ahead and keep that up. We got a lot of stuff coming up on the pod. We're cooking up some really cool pod ideas. We got a little episode of Pod Paris that we're going to do sometime here in the next week or so as well. So we got a lot going on. Please continue to check us out. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, wherever you get your podcasts. I want to thank Zach and Ryan, as always, for dropping in with us. And we will chat with you again. So until next time, for Zach, for Ryan, this is Tim saying keep your head up. And we'll see you.